This morning's farm report is sponsored by LS Tractor. Start blue, stay blue.
This year, make LS Tractor your all-season workhorse. From spring applications using LS tillers, box blades, rotary cutters, and grapples, to winter applications utilizing LS snow blowers, blades, and brooms. With this lineup, there's no job you can't do with LS tractors and implements. Learn more at lstractorusa.com or check out your local LS dealer.
Well, good morning, folks. I'm glad to be back. I wish all of you a belated Labor Day holiday. I hope yesterday was good and enjoyable to everyone, and you got some rest and were able to do some things you wish to do with a day off. We celebrated Labor Day in a good way. I'd like to start off this morning reminding you once more of a local event that will take place this coming Friday and Saturday. There's a historic building up at Red Oak up on Highway 43. It's the old teacherage where teachers used to, who came to teach at Red Oak, lived and roomed and boarded, and it has gotten in bad repair and has really not been used in a long time. They're remodeling it, and they have created a group called the Red Oak Area Historic Preservation Society to underwrite some of the remodeling of this building and to preserve it. There's going to be an antique classic tractor show on Friday and Saturday, and that will be September 8th and 9th. It will be at the W.B. Ennis Park, which is right there at Red Oak. There's a $5 admission for adults. 12 and under are free. On Friday, they will kick off with the theme Hometown Heroes Day. Saturday, they will have a classic car show beginning at 11 a.m. And also an antique tractor parade at 3 p.m. Saturday. Throughout the day, there'll be a DJ and live music offered. There'll be vendors, there'll be food, and it'll be a wonderful occasion. So you're encouraged to check them out and enjoy the fellowship and fun that will take place in Red Oak this coming weekend. And that's September 8th and 9th, and it is at the W.B. Ennis Park, and it's the Red Oak Classic Tractor and Car Show. This is to benefit the renovation of the teacherage there in Red Oak. So check them out, and I think you'll enjoy it. As time goes forward, we're continuing to research and to ponder new crops, and we're trying to find crops that will be sustainable, that will help with the cash flow on a farm. And one of the most current new crops is sesame, and there's some potential here. Research is underway now. I'd like to share some of this with you. A little seed with big potential is how North Carolina State University agricultural researcher Dr. David Sukoff often describes sesame and the possibility of growing more of the crop in North Carolina. After just a few years of research and growing test plots on the state's research stations, Sukoff feels optimistic about sesame becoming a much more popular crop for Carolina farmers. I think if everything works out, the idea would be that it just fits in and helps to diversify their commodity or row crop rotations. And diversity is what we are looking at and what we are striving for. So it might not be just corn and soybeans, or corn, soybeans, and tobacco. It's corn, sesame, and soybeans, or corn, sesame, sweet potatoes, and soybeans. It's just it just adds that extra layer of diversity to our systems, which in my opinion is always a good thing. With his test plot, Sukoff has already seen several positive attributes that could make sesame an attractive crop for North Carolina farmers. Among all of them, he said sesame's deer resistance is often the thing that brings farmers up first. In addition, sesame seems to grow as well in the Carolinas as it does in states like Oklahoma and Texas, where farmers have been growing it for decades. Sesame is very drought tolerant, thrives in the long, warm growing season, and doesn't seem to need a lot of input and maintenance to get a good stand. Also, the planting and harvesting equipment is the same as what many farmers already have here in North Carolina. Preliminary greenhouse trials have also shown sesame is resistant to root knot nematodes, including the Gavel root knot nematode. Financial potential is also a positive. Sukoff said that in 2020, sesame sold for about 50 cents a pound, and in 2022, it sold for 60 cents a pound. Demand is only expected to increase. Texas-based company Cisaco, which is involved with sesame from seed development to ingredient sales, reported that last year there were about 100,000 acres of sesame grown in the U.S., but it believes it would take about 650,000 acres of sesame to meet the demand in America alone. Jared Johnson, the general manager of crop production for the company, said the demand for sesame products such as tahini is simply being driven by consumer habits in the U.S. I don't know what tahini is, but we'll see. There are a few specific challenges with sesame that Sukoff says farmers will have to overcome. One is getting the planting depth right. Sesame needs to be planted deeper than most other small seeds. It also can be susceptible to weed problems, and there currently aren't a lot of herbicide labeled for use on sesame in North Carolina. Nonetheless, there are some options, and more are in the works. I think if farmers get the planting depth right and get a good stand, and if they're able to manage weeds well, they've addressed the two major hurdles, Sukoff said. At least based off of the yields we were able to obtain in our small plots, I don't see why we can't have yields that are comparable, if not sometimes better, than what they produce out west. Figuring out the potential of sesame in North Carolina wouldn't have been possible without financial support from the North Carolina Department of Agriculture's New and Emerging Crops program. Sukoff said funding from the program made it possible to plant and tend and evaluate the test plots. Graduate student Marcela Chavez was hired to work on Sukoff's sesame research with funding from the North Carolina Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services New and Emerging Crops program. It's absolutely critical. We would not have been able to do the work that we did without the program, Sukoff said. You know, there really are not many funding opportunities out there, and I'm speaking both from a state perspective and from a national perspective also. That allows investigation into these somewhat unknowns. That's not to say sesame is unknown, but how it performs in North Carolina was unknown. To have those funds available is a game changer for us. It's something that we should be proud of, and not all states have this available. A lot of my colleagues around the nation are envious that we have a program like this that understands the importance of diversifying agricultural systems and realizes that we need to invest in diversity and that we need to continue to look into new opportunities for farmers. The New and Emerging Crops program is run through the North Carolina Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services Research Stations Division. Even before Sukoff's grant application and funding award, the division served as a catalyst to explore sesame in the state. Program coordinator Hunter Barrier, who is based at the Horticultural Crops Research Station in Clinton, spearheaded 4 small demonstration plots after he got 2 different inquiries about sesame in April of 2020. A farmer in the Piedmont and a leader at the North Carolina Biotechnology Center both asked Barrier if it was possible to grow substantial crops of sesame in the state. We were initially unsure how sesame would perform in North Carolina. Our soil types were correct, but our humidity and rainfall is much higher than traditional sesame growing areas, Barrier said. Dr. Paul Ulak at the NC Biotechnology Center organized a meeting with a plant breeding company named Equinom, and from that initial meeting, the New and Emerging Crops Program agreed to plant several test demonstration plots to see how the crop would perform. We utilized North Carolina's network of research stations to plant the first demonstration plots at the Piedmont Research Station, Sand Hills Research Station, Horticultural Crops Research Station, and Williamsdale Farm Extension and Research Center. When Sukoff observed the results, he was impressed with what he saw. I don't think they did a whole lot to it in terms of management, so without really babying the crop, you still had a pretty good looking field despite all the challenges. As the saying goes, the rest is history. Sukoff's impression from those test plots led to his grant application, the funding award, and his subsequent couple of years of more structured research plots across the state. Graduate student Marcela Chavez participated and contributed greatly to this project. It's been a team effort to go from demonstration plots at 4 research stations in 2020 to an estimated 3,000 to 4,000 acres of sesame in North Carolina in 2023, Barrier said. Private industry partners, university faculty and students, extension agents, North Carolina Department of Agriculture, regional agronomists, and research station personnel have worked together to make sesame production an option for North Carolina farmers. This year, several farmers in the Carolinas have chosen to grow their first acreage of sesame. Sukoff's research continues. He'll be looking into expanding agronomic knowledge of the crop and how to manage it in hopes of sharing some best practices with farmers in the near future. So this is one more effort from the Department of Agriculture and partners participating to diversify our crop profile here in eastern North Carolina, and to offer a crop that might be sustainable and something that will provide add to the cash flow that is so greatly needed by our farmers. I'd like to give you a brief reminder of some pesticide safety schools that are will be held in the coming weeks. In many cases, you have to go to a meeting and be certified to buy certain chemicals and pesticides. The fall 2023 pesticide safety school is now available to those seeking initial licensing in one or more pesticide subcategories. And you can register. You can call this number and get registered for where the closest meeting will be. The number is 919-515 and 3113. 919-515-3113. To prepare for the class and exams more thoroughly, participants are encouraged to pre-order their pesticide manuals in advance of the school. And again, you can call in and take care of that with the number I just gave you. The pesticide schools that have been scheduled now include one August 23rd and 24th in Greensboro at the Guilford County Ag Center, in Monroe, North Carolina, August 29th and 30th, in Mills River, North Carolina, September 27th and 28th, and this is up in the western part of the state. In North Carolina, August 23rd and 24th, in Greensboro at the Guilford County Ag Center, in Monroe, North Carolina, August 29th and 30th, in Mills River, North Carolina, September 27th and 28th, and this is up in the western part of the state. Fayetteville, North Carolina, October 10th and 11th in the Cumberland County Extension Center. Winston-Salem, North Carolina, October 18th and 19th at the Forsyth County Ag Building. Pittsboro, NC, November 14th and 15th in the Chatham County Extension Center. Dallas, North Carolina, November 28th and 29th at the Gaston County Extension Citizens Resource Center. Greenville, NC, this might be one of the closest ones for us. December 5th and 6th, Pitt County Extension Center. The Wake Johnston County availability, December 19th and 20th at the Johnston County Ag Center. So this is something you might be interested in, those of you who have occasion to buy a pesticide from time to time, such as a weed killer or perhaps some type of insect repellent that is stronger than your average off or DEET or whatever you might buy in the grocery store. This concludes my time this morning, ladies and gentlemen. Once more, happy Labor Day, belated. We look forward to being back with you next week. We have a good day planned today. Have a good day. Thank you, and God bless.